We had several questions about the process, and one of them was about the throughput time. So let's further explore the process and the data set a bit further. So the process map gives us a bird's eye view on the overall process, but we can then go to the statistics to see some more detail about the data set. For example, here on the right side, we will see that there are 608 purchase orders in the data set. We already knew that from the process map. There are 9,000 events. So this is a relatively small data set. You can have millions of records in the data that can be analyzed with process mining. We also see the time frame of the data that is being covered. For example, here we have January till October 2011. So that's about 10 months of data. On the left side, we can now go to the case duration because we had those complaints that the process is taking too long. And if we go over the statistics, we can see that in fact most cases are finished within 16 or 17 days from the very beginning to the very end of the process. So this is within our 21-day limit. However, we can see that on the right side there are also quite a few that are taking really, really long, 80 days, 90 days, and even more. And this doesn't seem to be an exception. So if we are responsible for this process, this is really important information for us, and we want to know where in the process are we actually losing so much time. But before we do that, I want to show you one more thing. We can go from the statistics to the cases view. The cases view shows us information about individual cases. For example, here we have information about the purchase order 1417, and we see that these 5 steps were performed for that particular purchase order. We see the people who were involved, the timestamps, and any additional attributes that we chose to import as well. This is important because process mining does not only start from the raw data and then constructs an objective process map from that data as we have shown before, but for any kind of problem, any things that you find in your analysis, you can always go back to a concrete example, do a real root cause analysis and find out what's going on. And the second thing that you have in this cases view is also a view of the different variants. So if we look here on the left, we can see first of all that there are 98 different variants. Note that a variant in Disco is a sequence of activities, which in the terminology of this MOOC corresponds to a case type. So if we look at variant 1, we see that this is covering around 15% of all the instances in our dataset, and we see here those 88 cases all follow the same variant. So you won't see any changes in the sequence of steps because they all follow the same path, but you will see different people involved, different timestamps, and so on. So by stepping through the different variants, we can often get a good understanding already of the maybe 60-70% of the process by looking at the most frequent variants. If we look at variant 3 in our purchasing process, this is rather interesting as well, actually, because we see that the third most frequent variant is one where the process is stopped quite early. So in our case, we only extracted completed purchasing requests. So there's no cases that are still in progress, which is another topic that's important for process mining, which we will come back to later. But in this case, we only have completed purchase orders. What we can see though is that after the analyze purchase requisition step, the process was stopped. One reason might be that this purchase wasn't approved and shouldn't be in the system in the first place, so you could consider those cases in variant 3 another form of waste, because these 2 steps could have been prevented if we would have not started the case in the first place. That's another example of insights that you can draw with process mining, but we can also see that if we go back to the process map. You can see this here with this dashed line showing one of those early endpoints. We can see it's leaving the process here after the second step, and if we scroll towards the end of the process, then we will see that there's the main process flow here up till the very end. And while we have just one start point in the process, we actually have multiple endpoints. There's the regular endpoint around pay invoice after the whole process is completed, but we also have these 2 early endpoints, and one of them is the one that we just discovered in the variant 3.